Hey everybody, welcome to episode number, what number is it? 39, I just said it. Episode 39 of Tactical Crouch. We got a new look if you're watching us on video this week. I'm tired. But otherwise, hello to all you listeners over in podcast land as well. I'm KickedTripod, joined of course by Yiska and Volamel. Volamel's just jamming out to some K-pop right now. He might we might.
Dude, I needed something. I am running on fumes right now.
We might not get anything from Volamel on this show, except for mouthing K-pop lyrics, which honestly, just imagine that he's only saying dirty words when he's mouthing K-pop lyrics, and it's actually pretty funny. So I'm all about it.
Somebody needs to do like a whack dubs of me, you know?
Yeah. So, anyways,
lip readings or whatever.
We've got a great show for you this week. Lots been going on. We got upsets galore. Got some upcoming matches. Yiska's on his leak game right now, which, hey, big congrats on that, by the way. Getting that scoop and getting to publish it. But besides that, we've got a couple of housekeeping things really quick. So first, Patreon week 1 kind of shattered our expectations, Joe.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy to see that we kind of smashed that stretch goal, if you want to kind of call it that, so quickly. It was, I know John had mentioned it before the show, that kind of was energizing. And yeah, definitely felt the love. Definitely was motivational. Very much so. Very much appreciated. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you for, showing the support.
Yeah, for real. It was incredible. We crushed. We're like, we'll just have the one goal up there and we can get the next ones. And we shattered the first $100 a month goal. So,
in like an hour? What was it?
It was by the end of that first day. So huge thank you to everybody who wanted to support the show. We set up another goal. So the next goal is going to be, we're going to actually add a bonus show each month. And bonus, we are going to remove all the mid-roll ads from our YouTube. So that's at $250 a month. So if you're a YouTube listener and want to kind of help us get to that, because I don't like playing ads at all on YouTube, but I'm just trying to pay for like my Dropbox and Adobe Creative Suite and it's about and podcast hosting. So we run a few ads to help kind of meet that. So yeah. Other than that, so again, thanks again. Oh, also, game night, it's kind of the end of the month, and we didn't think that one through. So if we don't get a game night in by the end of June, we will for sure have 2 in July. We won't forget you, June patrons. So don't panic there. You'll get your perks. All right. Before we get started, make sure to follow the show on Twitter at tactical_crouch. Tweet us your questions and topics you'd like to have discussed. We record live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 15 minutes behind a day. Not bad, not good. And, of course, you can watch and listen anywhere where podcasts can be heard, as well as on YouTube. So make sure to check those out. All right, we've got some news this week. Yiska, I'm going to let you break this one here because you already broke it once. The number 3 most upvoted comment on the competitive Overwatch subreddit this week for the last 7 days, by the way. So, GG's again.
So, yeah, basically, I got confirmation from several sources that 222 lock was coming in stage 4. I think previously it had already been discussed by some Korean insiders. We never had, further confirmation of that. And it's interesting to see because as the story developed, we've heard this for a while. So, how all these different time frames came together, I still can't quite piece together how all of that happened. But I think what happened, and this is not reporting, but this is me interpreting what I think might have happened, is that they were trying to get it out sooner, but it's really hard. And I understand because new game systems would probably need to be created. We have questions what happens to heroes like Brigade, like Roadhog in a 2-2 system. And I definitely feel them there that it's a pretty big task. And interestingly, upon posting this, I at least on my socials, I was really interested how many people were actually against this. I mean, they aren't necessarily against 2-2 as a whole, but they are against the timing of the stage 3, right? Because once again, we have ran 3/4 of the season on a patch. Now, people might think, oh, this is kind of like last year. No, it's an absolutely different beast.
It's like twice as worse.
This is basically like Bench earlier told me, and I think that's exactly right, that he thinks it's much more like the switch from no hero limits to hero limit, as rather than like a balance patch that just changes some characters around and allows for new metas. I think this is a fundamental change, and will also have fundamental changes towards the competitive environment. So now we have to see. Honestly, 3/4 of the season we've selected for a particular type of team. Now we're looking at stage 4. We can only pray that whatever meta falls together sort of resembles the current power levels of the teams that we have, and we can fool ourselves into thinking that it didn't matter as much, but it will have mattered anyway, right? And as such, I'm highly critical of it as well. Apparently not as critical as some other community members are. I think 2-2 needs to happen. I'm just also skeptical on the timing.
What do you think, Joe? So number one, are you pro 2-2-2? And well, I mean, we've all kind of discussed it. I think we all have kind of agreed that 2-2-2 is probably one of the, if not the best route for like the long-term like health and balance of the game at the competitive level. But number one, is this so Yiska described it as a fundamental change. Do you agree with that? I want to know why. And I also then just want to know if you think that the timing is poor and why.
Is it a fundamental change? Tremendously so. I had when I heard that Yiska was writing a report on the 2-2-2 lock, I immediately started to kind of jot down my thoughts. I had a tally running because you hear from like the Korean insiders, there's 2-2-2 lock coming in stage 4. You hear rumors previously. I wanted to get my thoughts out as I kind of just a stream of consciousness, and I posted an article kind of doing that and talking about where this change affects things. It affects everybody, everything, and even kind of makes me question how the formatting of the Overwatch League is going to be, maybe even in the future. But as of right now, it doesn't make sense. It is a fundamental change. I think Bench accurately mentions that this is just like no hero limit going to limiting heroes. It's a lot like, I mean, that's 2016. Every year it seems like there's like a new shift, even though they might not mean to do it. There's like this drastic change in the way that the game's played. 2016 was no hero limit to hero limits. Great, cool. We have that now. 2017, I think, if I'm remembering my history correctly, that was when ultimates were like rehauled. So you actually didn't get ultimates literally every fight. It was a lot more paced out, and it slowed down the game considerably. 2018 was Brigitte Goats. Drastically changed how the game is played. I mean, we had tank compositions before, but they didn't feel as strong, I guess. It weren't so oppressive, I would say. And now we have in 2019 the roll lock. So it seems like every year there's just something new, and I think that's gotta kind of be addressed. And what was the next one? What was the last part of that question?
So yeah, I asked you if it was a fundamental change, and then also about the timing. Like,
yes, timing.
Yeah. So talk to me about the timing here.
Yeah, not good. Esports has been around, right? This isn't the first time that patches have hit before big events. Most notably that I can think of off the top of my head. There was the Juggernaut patch for League of Legends that happened, I think, right before one of the World Championship. kind of seasons where Fiora and Darius and all of these top laners are now just ridiculously broken. I was finishing up an episode of Oversight, and why there was new maps entered into the major pool a couple days beforehand, and so happens that this team that won played a lot and played very well on these new maps that were entered in the pool. It's a question of competitive integrity. This isn't something that is new to esports, but I figured we would have learned by now that this isn't good. I guess it's a question of, do we suffer through another GOATS stage and try to get through GOATS for the seasonal playoffs and try to sell out a stadium with how exciting GOATS is, or do we try to get the Pines and the Sabiolbis on stage? And I can understand that, but I feel like this should have been addressed so much earlier if that was going to be the case. Maybe they thought they could address it with these patches in stage 2 in the midseason, but it doesn't look like that hit.
Don't they have a disclaimer, though, in the patch notes now that said that this should have been addressed 6 months earlier? Isn't that just kind of par for the course at this point for Blizzard and Overwatch League? And, like, don't get me wrong, I love them, and I love that, but, like, that's something I just come to expect. Like, once everybody is in a general consensus that this is a change that needs to be made, give Blizzard 6 months. And that's part of it. So for me, I don't think this is as fundamental of a change as like removing no hero limit. Because I don't think that there was ever, that I can remember, there was ever a comp in no hero limit that utilized only singular heroes at a time. Always there was some sort of stacking involved that I can remember. Whereas, with this, I can think of a lot of times where there has been a lot of great 2-2-2 comps. And so, like, you know, again, it doesn't like have to fundamentally change that overall, just to kind of play devil's advocate. I do think it's still a big shift, though, because it does limit some of those, you know, 3-3, 4-1-1s, whatever, or 3-3, 4-1-1s, whatever other comps people end up coming up with. But you know, it becomes a lot easier to kind of balance around overall.
Definitely.
I also think, and here's the thing, I think a lot of people get kind of wound up on how it's going to affect these teams that have built rosters around GOATs, honestly. Let's be real. Titans. And well, actually they weren't bad at like dive or anything else either, I suppose. But I don't know, man. Like I'm still, and I think, let's just say I'm playing devil's advocate, but I think there's a part of me that kind of believes this. The long-term profitability of the game is not, even for individual organizations, is not based on who wins. It's based on if people are watching, and if the Shock lose their, you know, championship bid at the end of the season because we go to a 2-2-2 meta and they're not equipped to handle that, Shock maybe lose, you know, that whatever $1 million, and the organization gets $500,000 of that max, right? 50% is max that can go to the organization. Someone in chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's right, is that the organization can only take a maximum of 50% of the winnings. Maybe it's 20%. No, I think it's 50%. But the, you know, like an org isn't going to live and die off of those winnings. Yes, it's great for the players, but I think the players would much rather have a league to play in next season. And I think that more people, we've seen a steady decline in viewership over the first 3 stages, which we did last year as well. And for me, I'm just kind of like, yes, I think the timing is kind of weird from a purely competitive standpoint, but looking at it from a league standpoint, you're kind of in that you were already on borrowed time with that change, right? People were literally just sitting on their hands waiting for Overwatch League to implement some sort of change, and they finally did. So, yeah, I don't know. Yep, timing's weird. It's not awesome. Players probably don't like it, especially players who, you know, have played in whatever in goats. I think organizations like it.
Briggs like it.
Briggs.
Brigade players.
Hopefully Prophet likes it. We can see him off of Zarya a little bit. Back on what Yiska has come to know and love with Prophet. Yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts? We spent a few weeks ago, we spent a pretty good amount of time on 222 and just kind of our overall thoughts, and I don't want to rehash that. But any other thoughts on this change?
I think, okay. It's going to be interesting if feedback is considered for this. I mean, there is a non-zero possibility that this is run back, even though I don't think that is even competitively feasible at this point, because teams have been informed. They are making roster decisions based on this. The transfer window is closing soon, so they need to sign players in order to make that change work. And if it was now backtracked, I would like that less, actually. But it's a non-0% chance, right?
You just gotta stick with something.
Yeah. At the same time, I gotta say, like, okay, at that point, we just gotta say, okay, we can't do anything about it, and I still think we're going to have a fun stage 4.
Yeah, of course.
It's not going to feel very rewarding, and I also think we're not going to have as rewarding season playoffs based on it. But I think it could be more fun than what we're currently having. And I think a lot of players are currently benched. Like Striker, for instance, is one I'm definitely looking out for. It also, of course, depends on what kind of comps are going to be competitive. But if it's actually something like Sniper comps or like even Dive or whatever, we'll see a lot of the older or the long time or the last season stars come back, like a Sabiolbi, even though he's back on Sombra, but also Nene could more feasibly be integrated more in terms of, I want to see him on DPS. What about Flower? Stuff like this is certainly interesting, and I think we can then just sit back and enjoy what we're getting, because it's not the end of the world.
No, it's not.
Well, and
it's an unfortunate kind of timing, I guess.
And people have been really excited. Like this last week was probably the most, at least from like my, admittedly very, what's the term? Where it's anecdotal.
Describe it.
Anecdotal.
Oh, there you go.
My very anecdotal point of view from like my Twitter feed and like Reddit is this was a really fun week to watch for a lot of reasons. Yiska, I do have to ask you though, do you know if any of the teams, so this last week, I would venture if we went and did some some data mining, we would see that we probably saw the least amount of goats run this week than maybe every other week this season.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if teams are doing that because we're actually seeing a natural meta shift, or actually, you know what? No, it's a different question. Like a natural meta shift and teams are that, or they're sick of it, or is the 2-2-2 lock happening and teams are maybe starting to just kind of like prepare differently, and let's see if we can do this outside of goats, because come stage 4 we're gonna have to.
I mean, it's an interesting thought, but at the same time, some teams, certainly, for instance, Valiant, Outlaws, and whatever, they are trying to maximize their win rate now. They need every single win. So if they believed regular goats was still the best for them, they would probably run that. But Joe, are you still jamming out?
What's going on?
Joe, I can barely yeah. He's like, it looks like he's just
my
talking
lifeline
to
right now. I would literally fall asleep if this wasn't on.
That's how interesting you are, Yiska.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry. Wait, where was I?
I don't know. You interrupted yourself. It's impressive how you could do that.
Yes, it's 90 degrees in my room right here. It's really hard to think at that temperature. But what was it again? Do you guys remember? Do you
We were
guys
talking about maximizing wins now.
Oh yeah. Okay, so the thing is, what I can say from my information, teams weren't informed during the stage break, and they weren't informed. They were informed after at least the first week. So we already saw the Sombra trend there. We saw the DPS trend. I don't think it had much to do with it. Maybe it boosted the thing a little bit. I think actually a lot of teams are currently in a situation where they cannot think long term, have to think short term, and it's just a natural meta progression. I don't think.
Why can't they look long term?
Because they need wins now.
Some of these teams, won't be able to.
Oh, like
Outlaws
teams are on the
win.
fringe for like.
Yep.
Yeah, even Dallas and whatnot, right? Like they cannot start practicing for stage playoffs. They need every single win. They have a very hard schedule. There's a very real chance they might drop out of play-ins.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's a really good point. That's not something that I had like immediately considered. Yeah, fair enough. Let's talk about some other stuff going on. That's there's a lot going on with 222. I'm sure we will not hear the end of it. I'm sure it'll actually probably make a great. What I want to do is have a Overwatch League coach on before stage 4. Maybe we can get like Deepe or Harsha or even Baroy back on again and kind of discuss what they can about 222. But
we could have Packing. I'll ask Packing if he wants to come on.
Would be an interesting guest.
No thanks.
I don't think I've ever
I'm just
spoken
kidding.
to
Yes, please, let's do it. That'd be great. Yeah, so you're gonna hear probably some more 222 talk from us. Just thought you were sick of goats, huh? Wait until we start talking about 222. All right. I guess so, Joe. I do want to I still don't feel like I have good closure on this question actually, and
Okay.
maybe there isn't closure for this question. Why? After, I think someone in chat said 13 months of goats, why is it that the week after Blizzard tells Overwatch League teams, hey, we're implementing 222 lock, that we see the most diverse meta in stage 2 Overwatch League? And probably one of the most diverse diverse metas that we've seen on like a week by week basis since Overwatch League has started.
This isn't a sexy answer or a very interesting answer. I genuinely think it's don't make me strip down. I'm coercible. I genuinely think it's a coincidence. I honestly think it's teams finally saying, okay, we need to find some loopholes. We can't do this whole goats thing anymore. It's just not working. We can't do it. Now we're seeing more Sombra, and because we see Sombra, we see this other hero and this other hero, and oh, this map's actually open for this hero now and this hero. We're starting to settle into the goats meta. Finally, we're starting to see teams go, hey, you know what, Houston Outlaws, maybe we're just not good at goats. That's fine. We have Dante, we have Linkser. We can play these weird comps and squeak out wins against people. Now, for some reason, they weren't able to do that against Florida, which we'll get into, but.
Sorry,
but
still not ready. Still not ready for that one, man.
Yeah, this whole week was mind blowing.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think it was a coincidence. I don't think there's any kind of like collusion. Like, hey guys, we should be practicing for this 222. I don't think that. This is going to come across a little bit harsher than I think it sounds, but I don't think they're worried about it that far. I don't think that they're planning that far ahead. Like, oh, we need to worry about what stage 4 is. Some of these teams, like Yiska mentioned, they don't have the luxury of doing that. If that was the case, then maybe we'd see shock. Maybe, okay, we don't need to, we're kind of guaranteed at least play-ins, if not a direct seed into playoffs. If that was the case, then I could see Shock or Titans maybe dabble around with some 222 and get some stage practice on that front. But you're not seeing that, and that's what kind of points me in the direction of it's just the teams actually settling down and figuring out, like, maybe this isn't for us. Maybe we need to find a way to beat this that isn't just to mirror it.
Can I haven't done this in a while, I think, when I think back, but can I go a little philosophical on you and say,
yes,
that I think there's real value in going with the grain, not against it. So this is Taoist concept of Wu Wei, right? And in Wu Wei is just like to not go against one's own nature, right? And not to force through it and effortlessly, like sailing is Wu Wei. You go with the wind, and you wherever the wind carries you, it's Wu Wei, right? In now to Overwatch, if we think about this, maybe Goats is the best composition. It's possible, but maybe, and managing player psychology is very important. Maybe you need to change sometimes. Maybe you need to play the suboptimal. Maybe you need to play that thing that is not against your grain, but with the way, with the wind, and therefore have better output, even though you're theoretically playing an inferior style, right? And again, we have to say it once again, managing player psychology, once again, we are at an all-time low in terms of player psychology, especially those teams that came out of the break and didn't find the success that they were hoping for. Mm-hmm. Rock bottom, like, of course it is, right? You worked through maybe you had a week off, and then you worked tirelessly in order to make your season somehow valuable. And then you come out, all this hard work, you didn't have like a measuring stick really during the break, other than the scrim results, which we know aren't representative. And then to go into these games and lose them crushes teams. And in order to manage player psychology, maybe you just need to switch it up on people every once in a while.
All right, fair enough. That was too smart for me. So
one last question, and it doesn't have to be a long-winded one. On that topic of player morale, will you hear in like other traditional sports and even in boxing, in particular, you hear that game plans win you fights, right? Would you say that in Overwatch specifically at this point, not in the future, just right now, would you say that morale is more important than strategy? What wins you Overwatch matches? Synergy and teamwork?
Right? Okay.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I think it's both in tandem. The question is, what wins does playing to what doesn't win you matches right now is having the best pound for pound roster. It is all about team. Valiant is far away from the best pound for pound roster.
No,
very far,
dude. Someone clip that for Reddit, by the way. Let them know. Let them know.
Valiant, not the best pound for pound. How could you?
I mean, they individually definitely improved leaps and bounds. I don't know if you guys were watching Custer. Like, he really improved, especially his movement mechanics. I was quite impressed. I went back, watched a couple of his clips, but it's like their performance. That is, I said on Twitter, it's a lot. Their victory against the Titans is a love letter to the power of process. To have a constant trajectory every day, a little bit, sit down with the players, at long individual coaching sessions, and then to just consistently chip away at the problems that you're facing, grow together as a team, and get there. Now, of course, we have to be cautious. We can't call them the second coming of, I guess, Gladiators from last season, where they had a massive improvement after stage 1. But at the same time, I will definitely say that through the process that they've gone through, that is very hard to lose, because everything that you attain by hard work is not easily lost. So I think they are here to stay. I'm not sure if they will be a top 3 team in Overwatch League, but they don't need to be in order to still make the play-ins.
They've kind of returned to that very team synergy. Nobody really stands out more than the sum of their parts team that they were last year, right? Like, you didn't really have anybody that stood out outside of maybe agilities here and there, but was kind of inconsistent. And they just were the team's team in a way. They weren't flashy. They got the job done and they pulled out the W's. I think that's what this roster is turning into. I don't know how high they can go, if that makes sense. But that's the general feeling I get from this team right now.
Yeah. So I do have to say this. I think that you're both missing a critical point, and it's the fact that in order to be successful, the LA Valiant needed to catch up to Custa because he was so much better.
He's just too much smarter.
Too big brain for everybody else.
That's
you know, in the end, did Custa really improve his movement, or did the LA Valiant finally become competent enough that Custa could move where he needed to?
John, I don't even know I'm here.
I thought you were going to say if the map accustomed to Custa. And
that too. Maybe he's bending it to his will. Wu Wei.
Who knows?
Yes.
Man? Who knows with Custa, dude? He's off. I mean, all I noticed is that there's no YouTube video one week, and all of a sudden, boom.
No Custa news working.
How about a win? Oops.
Yeah.
Oh man, you can only put that big brain energy so far in one direction sometimes. All right, we've got more to talk about. A couple of additions. Sorry, go ahead.
Really quick. Who called that thing, by the way? I got to take all my chances to gloat right here.
Yeah,
called what?
Some for how God, I don't know what kind of devil worshipping black magic this kid was smoking, but I saw him. I don't know if it was in a Discord message or it was on Twitter that he said Valiant 60-40 over Vancouver. And now that you bring it up, why and how?
Yeah, how? Why?
Okay, so much of it is Scrimbucks, right? But much of it is also really valuing what Parking and his coaching staff have created. I also think Reprise is I don't want
to interrupt, but are you saying that you heard info that they were doing well in scrims post break or something like that?
No, I looked at their teams, but also like during the week, yes, they were doing very well in scrims. And also,
Reprise. How long has Reprise been with the?
Not too terribly.
Because Reprise was added officially this last week.
I actually don't know how long he's been working with them, but it probably for a long time because it takes, like Blizzard vetting a coach in order to be able to sign, and then he has probably been working with them probably since the stage break. And then I will also say on the other side, I definitely saw some issues with Vancouver adapting to the new style that was being played. And also, once again, doing a bunch of stupid shit, but not getting away with it this time, right? Like some of their comps is just so weird and so strange, but because they're all geniuses, it somehow works, right? Not this time.
Here's the thing, and I have to ask you this. Is Bumper still Overwatch League caliber? Or do we have? Or can we bring the copy pasta back?
No, Bumper is. It's not an individual thing.
Good. Okay. Fine. All right. Fair enough.
They need to come together as a team.
So basically, you chose 60-40 because Valiant have been winning some scrims. You've heard some positive things about Reprise coming into his new position with the Valiant, and on top of that, just seeing some cracks in the Vancouver play style.
And maps also were in favor of Valiant, I thought.
And maps.
Mm-hmm. But I thought it was going to go to 5 maps. I thought.
That's next level, guys. This is just, by the way, this is why you listen to the show. So that
it's a bit lucky.
So we can only talk about the 1 or 2 upsets a week that we choose, that we, and then out of 1 every 3 weeks, we get one right.
Speaking of, what did you have for Houston Mayhem? Hello, Mr. Phone. Let me turn you off.
Oh,
Houston Mayhem, what did you have?
I didn't put any. I didn't even have a consideration that Outlaws could be losing this, to be honest.
Yeah. What a weird one. Before we jump too far into that, I think there's a couple of things that we should talk about really quick. So the Gladiators add Faustus, I believe that's how you say it, as an assistant coach, and then Reprise, we kind of alluded to it just a few minutes ago. has been added to the Valiant as assistant coach. Yiska, sounds like you think Reprise is a pretty big deal for Valiant.
Yeah, like he was definitely one of the big names from Mayhem Academy. I also think still Curry Shot is, well, like how this man doesn't have a job in Overwatch League is beyond me. Who we actually had on as a guest once, right? But
and I had Reprise. Funny story. I actually had Reprise as a backup guest on Overwatch League Daily back in the day.
Oh,
I can't remember who it was. I think it was Pure. He had to leave last minute. He's like, I've got Reprise here. He'll do it for you. I was like, oh, well, I mean, thanks for finding a replacement at least. I'm not throwing me under the bus.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then do you want to talk about Faustus as well?
Yeah, I honestly don't know much about the guy.
So my understanding, and from talking to people at the Atlantic Showdown, was that he is very good at scouting opponents. So he will be able to really like efficiently, and also he's apparently a VOD fiend. There are these rare creatures in Overwatch. Like Dream is also one of them. And
not even a live feed.
It's like they watch everything. It is actually nuts. When they're on and doing their thing, they watch everything, right? And from my understanding is he's very good at prepping against teams, finding out weaknesses and stuff like this, right? That's what he's good at.
Cool. Both solid pickups then. They have to be, right? Both teams.
Sounds good, yeah.
Yeah, the power of getting tier 2 coaches up there, dude. Like, they get the experience there. It's at least as big of a deal as it is for players, right?
Yeah, for sure. I do want to go in and talk about last week's games because we have some upsets and surprising results to talk about. But I need to take a second. We're gonna do I want to kind of do this every week if we can. Is just find something absurd and spend 2 minutes on it. And in this one, PUBG, have you guys seen this? So PUBG Nations Cup announces, basically it's very similar to the Overwatch World Cup, and they totally ripped off the Overwatch World Cup branding. They've got these big marble looking statues of the whatever players that are just like nondescript in general, and in front of like blue cloudy skies and all the flags in the background, the stadium behind. And I don't know, and I tried to do my due diligence and be like, yeah, but did Overwatch World Cup take it from something else? I couldn't find anything. But isn't that just shameful? Like, isn't that just how do you do that? Yeah. Anyways, that was my Omega Wolf.
Nope. Like if someone handed this in to me as a homework, my bullshit senses are immediately tingling. It's like, okay, explain this to me. What was your thought process here? The answer is 5. Okay, you didn't do shit. You asked your best friend to just like do the homework.
I just don't know how you can do something so high profile like that. Like, it's PUBG, right? It's not this inconsequential little mobile game that, is tucked into this little scene in Taiwan, and like, oh, we don't have a lot for graphic designers, and so they just kind of duplicated this thing. This is PUBG here. I don't know. Other really funny thing. Well, actually, not really funny, but cool thing. You guys see that Jonak MVP skin? I want it. I want it.
Yeah.
That is a dope skin.
That's a really good skin.
Glad that they actually decided to do that.
Yeah.
It was something that when you have those awards and when you look at other esports and how popular those kinds of, and I hate how like weird and gross and business this sounds, but like that activation for like fans and viewers is really important.
Yeah.
To be like, yo, I got the Crown skin, I got the Jonak skin, I got the London Spitfire Season 1 victory skins where Prophet got to, help design and go through that process. That stuff's just kind of cool. and people really gravitate towards that just on novelty alone.
Yeah. No, and also further, we are championing the skills and feats of these young people that put their heart and soul into it and that are extremely like talented. And we need to celebrate like those that succeed in that regard. Yeah. And I don't know if Splitfire is baiting with their response on Twitter and if actually no skin is coming for them. It would be a shame, honestly. Like, at the very least, you give one to the finals MVP, right? That's something you would do. By the way, I don't know if you saw the article, but Jonak asked apparently if Prophet is also getting one. They told him no, he's not getting one. And the fact that he brought up Prophet is that he knows this guy was like, he's the GOAT. It's basically, he could have said, okay, I got this one over the GOAT. That's how I read it anyway.
Yeah, you could at least say that the GOAT acknowledges somebody in his perimeter, or other way around. He goes, man, I don't know how I got away with that one. Either way, totally cool. Awesome skin. And I forgot to post it. Boom,
I will say we definitely need to up our game here. Like when I look to League of Legends, yes, it took them some time to get this right. Sometimes it was honestly pretty cringy, right? It's during the first couple of years. But now they figured out a formula to sort of weave in together. I loved Rise. I love like the song for Overwatch exclusive viewers who don't know about the League of Legends scene. Basically what they did is they took, like they made a song, and then the video was basically all about the World Championships of last year. The song was catchy, and then it's just like following the captain to a journey that is highly metaphorical, this video, right? Like climbing a mountain, fighting all these opponents. Then these opponents are his literal enemies dressed up as the actual champions that they played. I think we don't have to copy that formula one-to-one, but having some more like of these cool interactions where it's not just something like that you can't touch. Like players don't even get to keep the trophy, right? The trophy is passed around. So to give something like a landmark thing to them, like a video or whatever,
memorialize them in some way.
Yeah, yes, memorialize
them.
That definitely we need to up our game in terms of that, or we're falling. Even CS is doing a better job, honestly.
One thing I loved, and I don't ever expect this to be that common in Overwatch or for us to be a part of that conversation, but one of my favorite things that World of Warcraft did is they actually named a bunch of just like regular green and everyday items after like podcasters and like streamers and stuff, just as a way to be like, hey, that's you, and we listen to you. Yeah.
If you Google Yiska now, World of Warcraft, there's an NPC called Yiska.
Because of you?
I don't know. Nobody ever talked to me about this.
Well, you got started in Warcraft 3.
World of Warcraft. No, in World of Warcraft. Oh, okay. Yeah, I started in Warcraft 3. I think, honestly, I was probably in the PvP scene. I was decently big at the time. I'm not sure if that warrants like an NPC or if just someone from the side engineers, because it's a really like a completely inconsequential NPC, and it's a Tauren female, so that has nothing to do with me either. It could just be, like random. But yeah, for instance, Azel, the caster from Riot Games, definitely has an NPC.
Yeah, totally. So like, I would love to see more of that. Just little like tucked away things. I think World of Warcraft is really easy to do that because there's a million items. Yeah. So he's just like, whatever, dude. Shield of Volamel, you're welcome, guy. Like, whatever. But I think Overwatch obviously is more on the MVP sides and naming skins and stuff is a much bigger deal there. All right.
What if like one of the voice lines was like a nod to like Prophet or Jonak or Bumper,
Yep.
I like it.
Get the
I think
voice
that
actors to do
there's
something.
been some pretty iconic voice lines, even honestly from like someone like the casters and stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm all for it, man. I love that stuff. We need to talk about last week's games, and we need to talk about a big one. So the Vancouver Titans have trounced the LA Valiant. Wait, no.
No, this just it.
No.
All the way around.
The LA Valiant defeat the Vancouver Titans 3-1. In fact, somebody on the show called it. I mean,
Yep.
man, I quit. How is that on the bench model, by the way?
90-10.
90-10 in favor of Titans.
88, I think. 88.
Very, very one-sided towards Vancouver. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Eden. I probably shouldn't have brought that up publicly. But so all right. Let's talk about this one. Yiska, you've kind of given some insight into like how you chose, but Joe, like what's your big takeaway from this one besides is it the Valiant are trending upward? Is it that the Titans are trending downward? Is it both? Can two teams that are so polar opposite right now in the standings all of a sudden be so close? Or is this a one-time thing where, 2 times out of 10, even 90-10, right? So 90-10 bench model means 1 out of 10 times you're going to see the Valiant win here. Was this one of those 10 times?
That's difficult to say. I'd probably, even if it wasn't and you like roll the dice and stuff happens differently, I still probably would give a pretty significant advantage to Vancouver. That being said, there have been, to Yiska's credit, there have been little cracks in the armor, little tendencies that they do. They don't do well into these DPS comps, which Valiant accurately scouted and abused the heck out of. They've also not been the most mature team, I would say. I don't think they take everybody seriously. I don't think until they're put in a corner, until they're put in high pressure situations, they don't really take you seriously. They're not giving it their all. I wouldn't say they're sandbagging, but they're not going to put in as much prep against a team that they think they could easily beat if they just show up, right? And that's the Valiant. In my eyes, that's a team that is rebuilding, that shouldn't be putting up too much of a fight. We can take this week easy, right? And look what happens. They Valiant wanted it more. They go into it, they practice, they accurately figure out, hey, maybe if we play the Sombra, they're not going to be able to answer it as well as they think they can. They put, Sumitsu on the Sombra. Wasn't great. Now they're putting, I think it was Janu on Zarya as well to kind of like figure this whole thing out. They didn't look comfortable making these swaps. Then they were playing McCree on Eichenwald, if I remember correctly. Like they kind of looked like they resembled what Runaway looked like in that Element Mystic end of regular season final match, where they're just like, I don't know what to do. They're just lost. And that's the kind of vibe I got from Vancouver after about like game 2 or game 3, is that they were kind of shook, didn't know really what to do. And, Valiant closed it out. But if you just watch that control map, or the control from Vancouver, it's business as usual. Vancouver comes in, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, adios. Yeah. You probably turn off the stream. Yeah. Funny how control works.
But I will also say in their defense, I think they were taking Chengdu very seriously. I think they seriously prepped for Chengdu, because Chengdu also, like, they're just a scary team because you don't usually practice against this. Sure, so they had a double week, right? so they had to prepare for 2 teams, and the other one being Chengdu probably also took a lot of prep from them. It's not necessarily just that they don't respect Valiant yet. It's probably also just that they had to
makes sense.
Split their efforts, and then, I mean, we can discuss if that was a wise choice, because I think the Valiant stock was definitely going upwards, right?
Definitely.
We could have sort of predicted that they would be the stronger team perhaps than Chengdu. But yeah, at the same time, it's certainly interesting, or also worth consideration, that they did have a double week.
Definitely something you have to keep in mind. I would say that. Well, do you think that Valiant was? I think Valiant in general is the stronger team, but in terms of like matchup wise, do you think Valiant versus Vancouver is harder than Chengdu versus Vancouver? I would think the opposite. I think Chengdu Vancouver is a harder matchup. Historically, it seemed to be proven so.
Yeah. I mean, sure. If it's a historic, it's also, once again, like, if players tell you this was really hard, even though like the match score probably didn't reflect it, even though they played 3-2, right, against them?
Valiant or Chengdu?
Chengdu.
Yeah, they played 3-2 against Chengdu. They turned it back towards Nepal.
That's fair. Like, I don't mess with that decision then to prioritize Chengdu.
Mm-hmm.
I just still think that if that's your stylistic understanding of it, that's fair. I still think we could expect Valiant to be a better team than Chengdu in week 3.
Sure, yeah, definitely. I mean, I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
What about this other one? So let me paint you a weird picture. Let me with you. So you've got this Houston Outlaws team who, you know, people have been literally just taking a massive dump over from their stage 2 performance. Definitely not meeting, I would say, anybody's expectations on an Overwatch League team, how they perform, their actual results. Just very, very struggle bus across the board. Coming to stage 3, you see the Outlaws come in, defeat the Eternal, defeat the San Francisco Shock, defeat the Uprising, which, I mean, is probably another topic in itself, and then barely lose, take NYXL to map 5. What an amazing comeback. Wow, they're so good. Look at them. Way to go. And this week, they fall to the Florida Mayhem. And then you just kind of go, what?
Yeah.
What?
I didn't watch this one too in depth, but it felt like everything was going fine until like the very end of a point. Would you say that was accurate? Everything was going okay, maybe trading back and forth a little bit, and then at the end of a point, when overtime's ticking down, Houston kind of slips.
What the argument that Joe is making is famously called in esports the SCARA. Like, they were winning until they were losing.
End up calling Baron and throwing it, and then you lose. That's what it felt like. It felt like everything was trending their way, and then just somehow it escapes them. Whether it's a botch support ultimate, whether it was a little late here, too early there. I don't think either team looked all that good. I remember watching what was it, Ilios Ruins, and BQB's grabbing his own teammate. Like, this was kind of
brain,
a fiesta.
by the way. I pull that one all the time in gold.
This was just kind of all over the place, and I don't know exactly what happened with Houston. What do you say? What do you say to that? I don't know. Literally have no idea what that happened with them.
Well, Houston is infamously emotional, right? Like, they are,
and that's
they are, like, if there's any team that gets like emotional and rattled by a point not going as planned or whatever and stuff, like, Houston's got to be up there. There's probably a couple others that are probably just as I don't know, like on a knife's edge, but I don't know.
This is also where I feel for Houston a little bit, because Flame, if I once researched this, he definitely identified this issue with this roster. And he also said that taking care of mantles is so important, and a sports psychologist as well, right? That was from all the like off-season content they made. I don't know if they were able to get one because of their situation, right? So if you identify a problem but aren't giving the tools to solve this issue, the responsibility shouldn't lie within you. Like, you can't... Okay, I was about to say something inappropriate, but you can't take on a second job in order to pay for a sports psychologist, right? Like, that's not how it works.
I could just see Raucus bagging down at the bagging over at like the local grocery store.
Trader Joe's, just stocking shelves.
Yeah, this is just just so
this is for my mental. Yeah,
it's for my mental health. Thanks, Houston Outlaws.
I'm doing this for Jake.
Man, I wish somebody who is an artist who listened to the show would draw that out for us, because I would frame that. Yeah. You're right though, right? It was immediately identified as a weak point in this roster. I do think though that there is it's not just on the organization itself to like provide. I don't want to say provide the support, because that sounds different, because it is on themselves to provide the infrastructure for the players to improve. But I don't think that the only way for them to improve is to have a dedicated esports psychologist. 100%. I think that there are ways that you can improve mentally without having somebody who went to a college with a 4-year degree to tell you that you're improving mentally. And if Blake is in the chat, I love you, and that has nothing to do with you. but like just in general, right? So yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think at this point, if you're a year and a half in, I don't know if that's a like, I don't know, that's I can't put that really on players, right? Like, they're there for a year and a half. Can't be a psychologist with a 4-year degree and whatever. Nobody knows. Nobody cares, Blake.
I just hope they don't just snowball out of control again. You know what I mean? Like, they were trending upwards so well. They're finding their footing, and then they have this upset loss after beating, arguably the best team in the world, third best team. They're doing well, and then they slip. Is this where they scrape their knee, cry, grab their red ball, and go home, or are they going to get up and get back on the horse? That's where I want to see this new mayhem kind of show up.
Outlaws get on horses. It's fact.
I
can't
want
be an
them
outlaw
to
if you can't ride a horse.
You know what I mean? I don't want them to turn tail, because we're starting to actually get some competitive teams from that bottom pack starting to rise up. Houston, we poop on Houston all the time. I can't poop on you when you're doing good. You know what I mean? That's a good thing. It's a good thing for everybody. Makes for entertaining games. The game wasn't great, but it was entertaining to the very end with a bastion on Gibraltar. It was at least entertaining to watch. It was kind of like a Michael Bay movie. You kind of shut off your brain. You don't worry about the weird ultimates. Botch this, botch that. It's explosions. It's fun. It's not the same monotonous thing. Just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, that's fair. All right.
But I hope they get back up, and I hope mayhem continues as well. And on that same, in one hand we talk about the Houston Outlaws, where are they going next? But we also have to talk about the mayhem. Are we going to see a continuation of this? Again, you flip that switch back on. This game wasn't great. I don't think many teams are going to let that kind of play slide. Let's just take out wins.
I need to consult the Yiska for a second. And I need to ask him. So over under here on the Outlaws tanking the rest of their stage.
I don't think they will. But I will say the problem for them really is now. It won't matter for the stage playoffs. It will matter for the season. This is rough. I hope they can refocus onto the stage playoffs, and then even just like leave the rest up to the gods at this point, because this loss was actually really, really significant for their campaign in order to get into the play-ins. I think this should be a free win for you. Everyone counted it as one, and it now takes a lot of other teams slipping in order for them to still make it in, which is unfortunate.
So the Houston Outlaws right now are 18 in standings. They're 6-13.
Remember,
now,
I had them at the bottom.
I mean, I don't think any of us. I think the highest someone had them was 13, right? And I think that might have been me. Which, like, what am I even doing here? I'm just pressing buttons. So the Houston Outlaws, though, 6-13, minus 19 map differential.
Yeah.
They're
slow.
So, but isn't it funny that the Seoul Dynasty are 9th right now with a plus 12 differential? Yeah. They're behind the Fusion and the Dragons, who have negative map differentials right now overall for the season. So the Houston Outlaws would need to essentially they've got 7 plus 1 or 2 more, right? So they've got 8 or 9. If they win every single one and they go to 6 and they win, let's just say that they've got 9 left. I don't know how many they have. Well, they're 6. I don't know how many they have left. Right, you have 40 maps.
20.
Do you have
maps?
28 matches? Sorry,
28 matches. Yes,
they're at 19. Right, man, math is hard. So they're at 19. They go to 28. So they've got 9 more matches to play. They win all of them. They go 15-13, whereas you have all these teams
That's
at
easily
10 and
enough,
12.
though.
You think so?
Yeah. Like, I thought 0.5 or 0.500 would be so 50% would be the cutoff. Mid-tier teams are becoming garbage, dude. Like, I think it's going to be that Joe. I swear.
Dude, turn it off. I will yell at you when you start falling asleep.
You can just keep listening. Just
keep popping out right now.
Joe is doing what I was doing when I first went to a club when I was like a wee lad. Just like, I'm dancing.
I feel like
chair dancing.
I feel like Joe is doing what I was doing the first time I took my niece to like a kids concert at the public library. is what he's doing right now. I just man, someone meme that, please. All right. Anyways, so here's Yiska. What I'm hearing for you is that there's a few different teams in free fall right now, but there's also a few teams that are in what's the opposite of free fall? Free rise.
Meteoric rise. I don't know.
Meteoric rise. I think that's fair enough. You've got a couple of teams that are doing that. The Mayhem are just a speed bump. Is that ultimately what you're saying? Oops.
I don't know.
Oops.
That's a tough one.
I can't really tap into the universe to give us answers on this one. It's really hard to say. I hope they don't get courage because I want to see more fun games, but it's totally possible that they break from this.
Does anybody have Mr. Rogan's number? We're gonna need some ayahuasca and a couple of hits of DMT, and this kid's going to the moon, and he's coming back with predictions.
Yiska, how you doing on that Lord bet, by the way, with Chengdu?
Losing.
How is oh yeah, I didn't even think of this when Autos suddenly became better. But what was the other team? Was it
Mayhem? Yeah, of course Mayhem and Outlaws.
I don't know how I roped you into this.
18-20, dude. Like, we could call you historical all we want, but oh man,
yeah,
that's gonna be
this
so
is
good.
over. They're not going to get 6 wins over. Yeah, okay. Oof. Yeah, that thing is definitely done.
You just want to start calling them now?
It's getting worse too, because yes, Chengdu is getting worse right now, but if with the 2-2 lock, dude, I gotta give it to Chengdu. Jinwoo
like what
was
you see?
nuts, my dude. Like
It'll get worse. I mean, you remember the flashy plays. You don't remember him dragon blading into the floor, Arhan style. It's gonna get worse. Trust.
So, Bench is of the opinion that Deding is a very, very good Pharah, but he's not Jinwoo. What are you saying to this?
I would say Eileen's probably better than Jin.
Did I say Deding? Okay, Ding.
Ding.
Yes. Yeah.
Double D ding.
Ding.
Yes.
Jajonak and Ding. Yeah. Best friends growing up.
Jajanu as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
Jajanu.
if you're looking for like standout, I like Eileen. He's more consistent. He's a lot like not safer, but he's not going to feed. You still get the star play from him. You still get a lot of the flexibility that Jinmu brings. But Jinmu, there's a great saying a wise man once said. I'm not going to repeat it, but Mr. Reinforce has a good saying. I'll just leave it there. Jinmu is one of those.
You gotta for the listeners who don't know what you're talking about. You're gonna have to find a different way to say it.
Johnny once said that when you play Reinhardt, you're either a silly person or a coward. Jinmu is not a coward.
Okay,
he's a silly person.
All right.
Sometimes he does silly things.
Person. Yeah.
And sometimes they work out. I can't tell if he's just insanely intelligent and just, his mortal shell just doesn't want to contain all that power and he messes up, or he's just crazy.
Oh yeah, we meet each other every once in a while. I run across him in the DMT realm.
Some sort of transcendent being.
No.
I don't know. I like Eileen more. I think you're gonna see a lot more Eileen come 2-2-2, and I think you'll like him.
Fair enough. All right.
Jinmu is good though.
So I looked at this week's games, and none of them seemed very exciting to me. I got to be honest. I was not super pumped. Oh, thanks for looking at it.
Let's get you excited.
I
That's
literally
my
in the notes I say any interesting matches this week, and this goes, Let me look. So
the first one already.
Yeah, the first one's great.
Spark Valiant is probably going to be a good match.
Mm-hmm.
Spitfire Valiant, maybe.
I mean, there's a lot of maybes. There's a lot of maybes, but there's not a lot of like this is going to be close.
Gladiators Vancouver, just to see how much, if at all, they dropped. That's a good test.
Okay.
That feels like a map 2 match. Like by map 2, you should be able to tell like where this is going. If it's going to be interesting, great. If it isn't, you turn it off.
The thing is, Kicked, like you asked if Houston Outlaws is broken now and they will just keep losing. This week will definitely tell us they're playing the Defiant and the Justice this week.
Fair.
Arguably the two worst teams currently in terms of power level.
How are you addressing Baroy in that? Are you giving him a hard time about it?
No, just call him bottom feeder as always. No, like
I thought we only talked about we called him bottom feeder when we were playing auto chess. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
didn't know that was Overwatch League related. Now I feel bad. Oops. Yikes. All right, so lots of interesting matches. Yiska, give me your top 3 here. Top 3 matches to watch this week according to Yiska.
Valiant Spark, Valiant Spitfire, and Gladiators Titans.
All right, Valiant Spark. Give me your prediction here. Give me one. You can do percentages if you want to hedge. Spark, I love it. All right, so Spark over Valiant. So Valiant not for real?
Not by much. No, Spark is just very good. I think they're the third best team right now, at least.
Okay. Fair enough. What was the second one? Valiant Shock?
Spitfire.
Spitfire. Thank you.
Ooh.
All right.
Dude,
Give me
why
one
do
here.
you make me do this?
Give me one.
Oh my god.
Give me one. Today it's an audio
This is so
podcast, and
hard.
I don't do post editing, so I need you to like.
This is so hard.
I can only stall
think.
for so much. I can put like the
Yeah.
crickets on, I guess, just so that there's something there.
Okay, this one is. See, I know a character from teaching, and Spitfire is the child that just comes in at the last moment and just like ultra crunch times it and gets barely a passing grade. And I think a passing grade entails a victory against the Valiant, and I think they will take the series close.
All right. So winning against the Spitfire is the equivalent of an American C. Right?
Yeah. Or Spitfire gets into the season playoffs by only having C's, I guess.
Fair enough. All right. So no joke, my last semester of college, I had a decent GPA. It was right around like 3.7, 3.8. And my last semester of college, dude, I'm like, what do I need? Just what do I need, man? Like how many points? Just tell me how many points. All right. And then what was the last one for you? I feel like it was Spark again.
It was Gladiators against Titans.
Gladiators, Titans. Who do you have taking this one?
Titans.
Give me a confidence interval.
80% Titans.
80% Titans. All right, fair enough. If you did not know that the Titans just lost to Valiant, where would you put that interval?
85.
5% drop. Okay, fair enough. All right, Joe, what about you, man? You got your 3 matches for the week. You can choose the same ones, by the way.
Just wait for him. There's currently a good part of the song. Like
I know he's right. He's like ready to start banging to it. Yeah, I get it.
You can't ignore Spark Valiant. That one is actually going to be good.
So tell me who you think takes that one.
I'm willing to say Spark there, like 65-35.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm of the opinion I think Valiant probably beats London. I'm gonna go like 63.5.
Wow. You think that
specific.
Valiant defeat London with virtually the same interval that Valiant or Spark defeat Valiant?
Yeah, I don't think London
1.5%, right? If I did that math right.
By 0.5, yeah. I don't I do appreciate the analogy. I just that was a strategy that I employed. And sometimes when you cram, you don't absorb a lot of information. And sometimes you think you're going to do a match confident and you end up bombing the test, right?
I think they're gonna bomb the test.
I do think they're gonna bomb the test. I think this is a test. They're still incredibly inconsistent. I think Valiant have a very strong identity, and I don't know that London has any kind of answer to that.
You don't think do you think the recent meta changes as we go away from GOATs benefits London?
Are you referencing 222?
Well, like 222 or even just not GOATs at this point.
For 222, you kind of have to. I think 222 brings or has the potential to bring out a lot of actual star player potential. We have very notable players now, but I don't think that not any one individual person can just hard carry a game, whereas in 222 that's much more possible. And I think London has that kind of star power behind them that they can just kind of will a victory sometimes.
That's fair.
If this was in a different meta, I would be much more forgiving to London, but I don't see the teamwork. I don't see the consistency. I don't even see them in a mirror against Valiant doing all that well. I think Valiant 3-1.
Cool. All right, last one. Last one. What does your shirt say? Does it say homecoming?
Don't worry about it. Yeah, you could. Yeah, we'll go with that one.
Like Spider-Man Homecoming? I can't.
Yeah.
No, what does it say?
Don't worry about it. I'll say Chengdu Soul. And that's just personal bias.
Soul. All right, who do you have winning that one? Chengdu?
No.
Okay, not that personal bias. Okay.
No.
I was about to shoot this man.
No. I think it'll be entertaining. I think it'll be fun. It's just, two lovable teams of mine. Yeah, I don't know. Just personal. Like I'm going to be watching that one for sure.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, we've got one more thing. So we do have the last part of our show is brought to you by our Patreon producers, by the way. If you want to support the show, definitely do. Patreon.com/Tactical Crouch. That's where you can go. Our producers have just said, you know what, guys? Here's a bunch of money. Thank you. Here's a bunch of money. And they did so, and that was Maid. Maid wants Yiska to sing a song. It's a European humor thing, because I know 99 red balloons, but he calls it something different.
Luftballons.
Yeah, Luftballon is balloon.
Is it the same song? Is he saying he wants you to sing the same song?
I think so, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're working on that. In the future, if you want to be a producer, you sponsor a segment that already happens in Tactical Crouch. You don't just get to make up a segment, bro. Okay? Let's just
Yiska's karaoke hour.
Let's just be clear for a second. I don't get me wrong. I will happily, for $25 a pop, make Yiska sing whatever song. And
that's a little cheap, to be honest. We would have to go a little higher than that.
Really, dude? I saw you sing Backstreet Boys.
Yes, but that was...
have you made $25 in YouTube revenue from that? You haven't. I
no, but a lot of, positive emotions came from that. Just
how do you quantify
getting
that?
to... Yeah, you can't. Just getting back at Huyal for all the matches he stole from me last season was all I needed.
Therapeutic.
In that moment.
Got it.
Yes.
All right. Well, so anyways, our Patreon producers are Maid and Peter Y. Thank you so much for supporting the show in the way that you have. We really do appreciate it. We've been overwhelmed by your support. If you want to continue to support the show so we can do more cool things, and then, I don't know, we'll make like the $500 goal a month be like Yiska sings you 30 seconds of one song every month. We'll put it on the Patreon.
Definitely not.
We'll put it on the Patreon only feed and make it happen. I don't know. I'm kind of for that. Anyways, thank you again to Maid and Peter Y. I want to make sure. Yep, Peter Y. We really do appreciate it. All right, chat questions. Devolf on Discord says, if you were hired to be the commissioner of Overwatch League, what is a change you would implement to the league? They went on to kind of qualify some things of you can't do 2-2-2. You're the commissioner. You're not really balance changing. Really interesting question, I thought. I think, Joe, you might have answered yours in the Discord itself, but I want to hear it on the air. Let me go. 1, 2, 3, go.
I probably would add, or I think my answer in Discord was that I'd probably try to remove control. I don't think it's a good predictor of actual, who's better on the day. I don't think it's a good predictor of skill. I think it's very different than the other 3 game modes. I would rather have it just a best of 3 with some sort of map draft and some timeouts, maybe. I always enjoyed the way that timeouts worked in Apex, and I thought that would be kind of an interesting addition to the league, allowing a little bit of downtime, a little bit of rest to kind of build up the story for the match, and let that story kind of play out a little bit more effectively.
Yiska, what about you? Overwatch League Commissioner Sasha.
I would make Overwatch. I would take the league out of Overwatch League, and I would make it a tournament circuit with circuit points that would lead into a playoff-like scenario over the year. And I would just have double elimination brackets. Let's say every 2 weeks the circuit moves, and then we have like weekend tournaments. And by doing so, we would have great games with much higher frequency. Because honestly, if we didn't have the stage playoffs in the current format, and we're not going to have it for stage 4, by the way, like the average game in Overwatch League has really decreased in quality just by the sheer amount of teams we have now.
Sure. You're right. I think that's a really good point. As for me, I would think I would go a little bit more on the administrative route. I would want to see hard salary caps, and I would want to see public player salaries. Those are the two things that I want to see. I think it would even the playing field a lot when you start knowing what players are worth and how much team you have to spend or how much money you have to spend. I think it evens the playing field a lot. And so I would love to see that. I know that's not totally what you guys went with, so now I feel dumb, but whatever. Going for it anyway. I don't know. All right, great question though, Devil. Thanks so much. That actually was from our special patron Discord, by the way. I don't know. No, we're not going to show this too much, I promise. Refined Bean on Discord, also a patron, says, "What do you attribute the recent shift from goats?" And they kind of went on to expound, but ultimately is like, is it balance patches? Is it team adaptation, etc.? Why is it? And I think I asked it a little bit earlier. Why is it that right now we're seeing a shift away from goats, even though we're going to be forced out of goats in stage 4? Yiska, I'm going to let you go first, man.
Mm-hmm. So I've had this concept for a while that meta is not nearly as much of a like scientific analysis of what the actual gameplay state and the state of the balance of different heroes looks like. I think meta is as much of a gamble and a social and a psychological phenomenon as it is one of gameplay conclusions. I think going from that idea that I have, I think there are definitely many factors. And the biggest reason why we had a meta change is because we had time for it. We had teams being able to sit down and, for instance, some teams, for instance, didn't have games in the last week of stage 2 and then also didn't make playoffs. So these teams could realistically like free scrim without any competitive pressure, practice, try out stuff for 6 weeks. And that in itself definitely helps innovation. What about you?
And for me, I kind of have to echo the same points that I mentioned earlier. I think that's these teams are settling down into a meta that has been established, and they're finding their place within it finally. It's not a patch; it's just kind of team adaptation, in my opinion. I think they're just kind of settling into it and figuring out where they sit, how they want to stylize themselves in the ecosystem, and we're starting to see some more interesting things. You know, Houston playing the DPS comps, obviously Chengdu doing what Chengdu do best. Teams like Shanghai, teams like Guangzhou. You know, we're seeing more styles come out, and I think that's always generally what'll happen with most esports.
Cool. All right. I think on that note, I think we're going to get out of here. It's a fun show. Good show. Feels good to be back. We're in new skins. Yeah. It's like we wore a brand new shirt on Twitch today. So that was kind of fun. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. But before we do, I mean, we've got a few things to go through. Probably won't be this long normally in the future, but you know, let's hope so. Before we get out of here, we do have some new patrons to thank, Joe, do we not?
That we do. Our brand new patrons. Devolf, the asker of great questions. Beautiful human being.
Got him.
my best friend, dear friend, we go all the way back to high school. Jared.
Do you really?
Thank you. No, not at all.
Alright.
James T.
We go back to high school.
Is that Mr. T?
No, it's James Taylor.
Spot. Oh.
Oh.
I'm just in my head. In my head, it's Mr. T. So Mr. T, thank you for becoming a patron. Monclo, you sound like some sort of dish detergent or maybe some sort of bleach
that's
product.
A really good WoW name.
Monclo.
Monclo in German, if you pronounce it a little differently, it would be man toilet.
It's one way to get people to not be a patron.
Well, Monclo, we love you in your porcelain body.
You can be my man toilet anytime you like.
Exactly.
No, you can't. You won't even sing for us.
Right.
Charlie L. There's a lot of L's in your name. Don't know where to go with that one.
Literally two. Literally two.
There's two. That's one. That's more than one. That's impressive. And you're impressive for supporting us. So thank you very much. Peter Y. Peter Y.
Why indeed?
Why is Yiska taking silly or Lord Betts? Peter Y. Why? What's the meaning of life, Peter Y?
Peter, why not give us $25 a month? Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
See, this is now this guy. This person gets it right. Suds and Bubbles. It rolls off the tongue. That's a great WoW name. Suds and Bubbles.
He just wants you to take a shower, man. He just wants you to take a shower.
I just got out of the shower. I probably shouldn't need to take another because it is hot in here. So Suds and Bubbles, I might be meeting you later for a little bath. Bo P. Hey,
good.
TOS, all right.
That is not a patron perk that I am aware of.
No, that we got to get crazy high. That's past the private Instagram sub goal. You know what I'm saying? Bo P.
Our nude only Snapchat. The tactical crouch nude Snapchat.
Calendar.
$2,000 a month.
Anywho,
I do it for free. I don't know.
Thank you. Bo P. Remember you from last week, little Bo Peep. Welcome back. Welcome to the Patron Club. Hopefully, you and Suds and Bubbles, become best buddies. Maybe we all can become best buddies in that process. So thank you for stopping by and saying hello and showing some love. Maid, you. I'm trying to think of an Aussie slang. What was
Crude Loop.
Sure.
Call him Milk Gremlin.
Little Gremlin. Made
Milk
the little
Gremlin.
gremlin. Oh, the Milk Gremlin. That's...
Yeah, I have no idea what that is, but he called himself that. He said if I get that prediction, he can't wait for me to call him Milk Gremlin if the Valiant prediction actually comes right. Because he clowned on me for predicting that. And who's laughing now? See? That was a laugh. So that's me.
And you're certainly not a Milk Gremlin. So, Maid, thank you. You little grubby little Milk Gremlin. Thank you for your support. We love you very much. Hopefully we can have you on sometime soon. I don't know if that's a capital I or an L. So I'm just going to assume it's an L. Slan B. Welcome to the club.
Okay.
The first
He's not
rule.
rushing B. He's slaying B.
It's true.
Nobody even needs to come with him.
Does he have a
Because he
P90
takes
though?
that side. Yeah, probably yes.
Come on.
Yes,
He's-
that sounds like a
Plan
guy
B.
who uses. Yes, most.
You're saving for about 5 rounds and buying P90 no armor and just going B.
Yes, no flash.
I don't know. I don't know anything about that personally, but I see you, Slade B, and I appreciate your support, Capitiano.
You got to do
What's
these
up?
faster
How's
next
it going?
week, dude. Listen,
Come
I love
on,
you.
it's intimate.
Yeah, I don't have a long enough sounder.
Capitiano, thank you for your support. I'm being rushed through these, but so we love you.
My captain.
Jason M, there you go. Jason Momoa. That's in my head. You know, you're throwing axes at us as, you know, you're listening to the podcast as you're hurling axes and being
down. You're physically making this slower.
Fordeka and Matthew O, you're just gonna have to be a duo today because you're a duo in my heart, and thank you for your support. There's your patrons.
Not that fast.
Okay.
All right. I think we have some 5-star reviews. I took a big bite of a donut before I said that. I didn't think that you would go that fast through those last two because you took an hour and a half.
You wanted to go faster.
I kind of almost wanted.
All right. 5-star iTunes reviews. Yiska.
These are so much better.
By the way, number one, if you like the show and you're like, you know what? I'm not giving you any money, which is totally fine, by the way. You shouldn't have to pay us money for anything.
No.
But if you're like, but I still want to support you, besides joining discord.me / is it Yiska out? Is that what you have it set as, or is it Yiscord?
It's Yiska out.
Yiska out. Join there, hang out, have a good conversation with us. Leaving 5-star iTunes reviews are also an amazing way to support the show, and we got a couple this week, Yiska.
Okay, so to explain how I'm going to present these two people is Joe a couple of weeks ago sent me like a YouTube video of a band, and the twist of this video is that there's a woman and she has a beautiful voice and then she starts screaming.
I don't know if I can.
So we're going to try this. Okay, I practice my screams. Let's see how deep I can go here. Okay, so the first guy is called Great Gameplay. Hit me, minions. A little chunky at the start, better at the end. And then, of course, and you can't scream that. That name cannot be screamed, right? The second name cannot be screamed.
Why not?
The second name, okay. Boo how? Boo how?
One more time.
Oni-chan? Boo how, Oni-chan?
He did it. Man, I gotta block your face just so that I can. Right.
I practiced this for a PvP, actually, like the demon voice. I wanted to say, like... Oh, no.
Hold on, yeah, this is just coming up, by the way. Sorry, we're going up for a second.
Oh, Ni-chan.
we gotta get this all set up.
How, Ni-chan?
Just like, yeah, this is just it.
That's going right.
Sorry. I know that was not what we were discussing at the moment, but we did. Sorry.
Either way,
I had to play it. I was just like, nope, this is staying here forever. All right. What else? Were we done?
What else?
Were we done?
I think we're done. We're done.
All right, so we're done. As it says in the announcements down below, make sure to follow Yiska and Joe on their. So we're going to talk about their Twitters in a second and where you can find them and what they're working on. But do make sure to subscribe to these guys on YouTube, both Yiska Out and Volamel. Here's the thing I like about you guys: you're consistent. Twitter, YouTube, Pornhub. All the same, Yiska Out and Volamel. It's the same thing, all across the board. So thanks for making that easy on us. But Yiska, what are you up to this week, man? I mean, we've been talking about a little bit. We've been playing some auto chess. You missed a pretty fun night where Joe, Dream, and I played some Underlords because I'm not in the PBE, so I couldn't play the other one. Yeah, TFT. So, besides that, I mean, what are you up to? What are you going on? Are you playing some auto chess? Is that what you're going on? Are you playing some Destiny? What are you up to, man?
I mean, it's just playing a little bit of Destiny just to get some weeklies done. But like, I'm definitely looking forward to TFT. So Teamfight Tactics coming out tomorrow.
Is it actually coming out tomorrow?
Yeah, on NA and EU, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Have to give it a try.
I'm excited about it, man. I've heard, I come from the Hearthstone world and the CCG world, and a lot of my friends are like, this is it. This is going to wean. This is why I'm not going to play Hearthstone or any of those other, even Magic the Gathering Online. I'm going to stop playing those games to play TFT. And I take their opinions very seriously. So when they say that, they usually aren't like, they're not the guys, they're still playing Hearthstone, for God's sakes. Like, they're not ones to move on to the next big thing by any means. So, I don't know, pretty exciting there. But man, Joe, I suck at those games, dude. It's tough.
It takes time and experience. That's what these games are about.
Yiska, you popped in actually. I remember. I was so
a little later, yeah.
I was super sober at that point in the night.
That's the word.
Basically, is what it is. What about you, Joe? What do you got coming up? What are you working on? All those good things.
What am I working on? That's a good question. I've got a couple 222 pieces in the works. One being how it affects everybody, if that makes sense. I touched on it in my most recent article, but I want some expert opinions on how it affects players, coaches, and even observers.
And that's why he's asking only the listeners of this podcast, by the way.
Exactly. There'll be a Reddit thread.
Expert opinions.
Yep. I'll be outsourcing to people on the street as well. Taking their opinions on things.
You go to the G-Rated Esports Discord, and then you go to the Tactical Crouch patrons, because those are the two smartest groups of Overwatch people in the world. In the entire world. No. That's going to be pretty cool, though. When's that dropping? Or what are you hoping that's going to drop?
It's in the works. I don't know. I gotta get with some people. We'll see. It'll be out soon.
Have their people call your people. I get it. I understand.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
As for me, you can find me everywhere at KickedTripod. Of course, the only things that I really do is upload these guys' smart thoughts onto Twitch or YouTube.com/KickedTripod. So I don't know. It makes it easy on me, I suppose. But yeah, make sure to follow Yiska at Yiska out on Twitter, Volamel at Volamel, and myself at KickedTripod. And make sure to follow the show at Tactical_Crouch on Twitter and Patreon.com/TacticalCrouch if you're like, hey, I really like the show. This was a fun time. I learned a lot. And I've got, I'd like to support you more than, whatever else. Just listen to the show, which is, by the way, a great way to support the show. You can go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. Support there. We've got lots of cool perks. I think our next, I know our next perk is going to be an extra episode, and we're going to get rid of all those pre-roll ads, or not pre-roll, mid-roll ads on YouTube. So make sure to stay tuned for that. You can follow the show everywhere at Tactical Crouch. Just search for it. Type in Tactical Crouch. I promise it'll be there. You'll be good. You'll be okay. You'll find it. I promise. You're all right. You're a champion. You lived up to this moment. Great job. Kudos.
Do your squats, people.
Do your squats. How do you say good job in tactical or in German?
Gut gemacht.
Gut gemacht.
Oder gute Arbeit.
That's too long. See you guys next time. Bye, guys.